You've built rapport. You've connected. You've pre-qualified the client. They've told you they want what you're selling them. How hard, ladies and gentlemen, do you think it is to close this person at this point? They've got need, want, bank, budget. They don't want term. They want what you got, first day full coverage. They like you. They trust you. How hard is it going to be to close them? The other part of that is if you do all that, the close isn't that big of a deal. Now, like a lot of things on YouTube, the close is the most dramatic, performative aspect of the script. Everybody wants to know, what are those 5 top objections you must know to close every deal you see? And, it sounds sexy and it's cool, but it's not like real. At the end of the day, we use one close, as we'll get to, and it works time and time again, hundreds, if not thousands of times for me personally. Also, if you do everything right, there just isn't that many objections that you have to deal with too. Again, there's this obsession. What about objection rebuttals? Do we need to know the top 3 objection rebuttals? And I play into it because I've got a YouTube channel and got to do that to get people's attention. But the truth is, what I tell my agents, it's like, look, just what you need to do is get good at the first part of the presentation, first 3/4 of it, most of it. The close becomes the simplest part. It's the grease groove, you slide down, and you should get the deal if you have committed to every other aspect of getting it correct. So first lesson here, if you run into trouble at the close, the first lesson is you probably screwed something up a long time ago. And more often than not, what you screwed up was that pre-qualifying connection stuff. More the case if you're over the phone, you don't have enough connection, a rapport with the client. This is where you're going to see problems here. Okay. Definitely the case with face-to-face, although I think you don't have to go as deep necessarily as you do over the phone to make that connection. But the point still remains for either or. If you're not dialed in with the first 3 of the 4 stages, then the 4th stage is going to seem impossible. And many times, we look at our problems right in front of us and we start to think, oh, it's the objection rebuttal I need to know. I'm going to go on YouTube and look up the objection rebuttal sequence. Like, because you hear it means that's the problem. Well, that's the problem because you didn't do something earlier and you need to fix the stuff earlier. So that's kind of the big perspective here. The big meta picture is if you dial in everything early, the close is just simple. It's not complicated. It's just assumed that's going to happen. And think about it. If you've got a client, to round it out again before we start getting into some specifics on scripting, if you've got a client who has need, want, health good, banks is fine, tells you their budget, they tell you they want what you got through stage 3. They don't want the other stuff. They want, like, what do you need to do more? It's pretty much a done deal, right? It should be pretty smooth. And you need to think this, okay? And if you're not getting this, the first thing you always ask yourself is, what did I mess up earlier? Because it's usually something you messed up earlier, okay? Now, let's get into the actual scripting. So at this point in the presentation of the close, and when I say close, we're talking about the stage 4, okay? They are sold on the product of whole life insurance. Remember, we've talked about how it's first day full coverage, doesn't cancel due to age or health, blah, 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 blah. They don't like the idea of term canceling or the 2-year wait. They're sold conceptually on what we're doing. So they're closed in that regard. So all we have to do is just basically reiterate what we showed them as being what we got and connecting what we got to why they should buy it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is kind of open up the script to how I would start this process. So it sounds something like this. So Mr. Jones, here is a product that is the absolute best option for you based on what you told me about your health and what you're looking to accomplish. The company is called Life Insurance Company. They're out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They've been in business since 1859, over 150 years in business. And the reason I'm selecting this company is because of your health. They give you the best combination of price and coverage. Let me give you an example. You know how you told me you had a touch of COPD? Well, most companies, even with a touch of COPD, aren't going to fully protect you. They're going to make you wait 2, maybe even 3 years before you have full natural death coverage. You're fully protected from the first day. That means if you die from accidental or natural causes, you are protected. It's exactly what you're telling me you want, right? Yeah, of course. Perfect. So that script right there, I explain who the company is. Your client needs to know who you're trying to sell them to, okay? I tell them a little bit about the company. I don't break out the financial report and show them the list of board members and the asset value and like the snore fest, right? That's not, they don't care. If it looks legit with the brochure you're showing them or what you're telling them or the phone, they'll just assume that it is legit. Okay. But I want to tell them enough to legitimize them. So I always say, obviously, who they are, how long they've been in business, where they're located. What we want to focus on is why this company and not that company. Why this one, treating this example, better than the other options. And how do we do that? We tell them why I'm picking them. And in this case, it was because of an underwriting issue, right? Because you have a touch of COPD will take you while the vast majority of them won't. Is that not true? Yeah, sure. There's a couple other carriers who take it, but what I'm saying here is there is a special reason unique to the prospect why we're picking Transamerica above what my discretion is, what my decision is, right? And people like the sense that you're helping them out with a well thought out, custom tailored solution. And what better way to demonstrate that than just by not saying, hey, I'm picking you this because I said so, but by saying why you did it. Okay. I think this gets more buy-in from the client. Now, what if they're in great shape? So, Mr. Jones, the reason I'm picking ABC Life Insurance Company for you is because based off of your health and your age and out of all the other options I have, I believe this is the best combination of value of coverage at a very affordable and attractive rate. Everybody loves that. Get a great deal for an attractive rate, right? So that's another way you can explain it. What if they're 9 toes in the grave, right? And you're getting them guaranteed issue. So based on your options, I is the best option for you because bottom line, with your health conditions and everything that you're dealing with, at the end of the day, they're going to not ask you any questions when the vast majority of the other ones will and won't even take you. Will. And all you have to do is get through 2 years. And we explained this earlier. And just like I said, it's 2-year wait, then you're fully covered. Okay. So you see what we're doing here, guys? We're telling them what we're getting them and we're explaining to them why. And think about yourself on the other side of that negotiation. Let's say you're the prospect. How much better would you feel about making a decision to buy today when you had a relevant personal reason why you should get this plan versus another? Kind of helps solidify the deal, right? At this point, I will go through the health questions. So whether I'm on the phone or face-to-face, if I didn't do this prior to starting stage 4, I'll go through and say, okay, so before we go any further, I'm going to ask you the exact word for word health questions just to make sure that I'm being thorough and that you definitely can qualify. So I'll run through the questions, have them answer yes or no, make sure everything is lined up and is fine. And that kind of gives them an extra layer of, okay, great. It looks like you are definitely going to be eligible and that this plan is definitely going to be the best for you. So I make sure to say that before I go any further, before I get them to commit financially, and then I find out, oh, you have a touch of cancer too. Well, we can't do that, right? So I want to know and make sure that I'm not missing anything. And again, guys, you want to have some redundancy. Redundancy meaning we've already asked health questions earlier, but we're going to ask them again. We're repeating it. Why do we do that? Because we all are prone to mistakes and accidents, right? And accidents cost us deals. And you want to be, one thing you want to be thorough about is making sure the client can medically qualify as much as possible. Okay. Before we conduct the phone interview, show the price, get them excited, and that's just to have the whole thing wash away because of a mistake we could have avoided. Right now, we've qualified them. They've agreed that we can qualify them, et cetera. Next step is we have to show them the pricing. So we're going to shift now to pricing strategy. Okay. So this is something I've been working on. I think the new script accounts for this. Nothing major change, but some things I picked up interviewing other people and thinking about how to present pricing in a way that's going to optimize what you can take from the client as far as the premium per month. We use a 3-option standard issue, good, better, best, close. That's where we show 3 amounts of coverage with 3 different prices. That's all we show them. Okay. We have a budget of 75 to 100. That's what they can afford. What are the 3 prices, the good, better, and best? What premium rates would you put down on paper or verbally give to the client? What I have modified our good, better, best pricing strategy to do is for the first 2 options to show the low and the high of that budget range. And the third and final option to be something about the same equivalent distance in dollars as the third one. In other words, a 75, 100, and then a 125, $25 difference between the both of those, right? So that's kind of my thinking now. And let me explain why. First of all, when somebody says yes to a budget range of $75, to 100, they're saying yes to 75 and yes to 100. So why show them something in the middle? So what we've done with this strategy change is we took originally the $100 was best. Well, we shifted it to the middle. You've now went from 85 or 90 to 100. You've given the middle choice, which most people will choose the vast majority of the time. Half the time you're going to increase your middle premium than how you would with our previous iteration of this. Does that make sense? So you're giving yourself a raise simply by putting the middle one down. The people who tend to choose the least option are just the people who choose the least option, okay? That has remained unchanged, okay? So you're not losing money, in my opinion. You're not like putting a 65 or something lower than 75. The people who are going to pick the low one are going to pick the low one. But the people who pick the middle one typically pick the middle one. So you're not losing anything with the strategy. I believe you're mostly gaining. The last part of that, for those that are in the higher echelon that were willing to spend more, you've now given yourself a bonus in this example of $25. What all this means is I think with this change up in strategy, you're going to close a higher average premium because now you're strategically showing pricing in a way that gives you an advantage to increase your average case size. So again, the first option is the lowest of the range. The second option is the highest of the range they gave you. The third option is a modicum or an interval outside of that. If they said 150 to 200, I'd do 150 low, 200 middle, 250 top. If somebody is kind of wishy-washy, I don't know, should I go with the 125 or the 100? And it's the close. I'm going to say, hey, look, you need to get to what's most affordable for you. If you were my mom, Mrs. Jones, and you weren't sure about that 125, I'd just say pick the 100 up. That's going to be a good deal for you. You want to make sure this is easily affordable, right? Of course. So why don't you go with that one? So if I hear them kind of vacillate, right, that's when I'm going to jump in and say, just pick the cheaper one, because it's very atypical to lose a deal because you were too conservative. It's way more common to lose a deal because you push too hard, right? So I'm very sensitive if I hear that at the close to encourage them to get what they can easily afford.